Tried to get on a plane to the USA, already late when I get to the gate. As I approached the guard, I saw his nose begin to glisten as though he could smell my international crimes in the air. He said, "Sir, could you step to the side, perk up your ears and listen, because what I'm going to say I need to make very, very clear." He said, "Do you have any meat? Do you have any cheese? Do you have any vegetables? Especially leaves?" I said, "Of course not, no." But he didn't believe. And he reached down, grabbed my bag, and took my sandwich from me. The TSA, they took my sandwich away. They took my sandwich away. Called it a terrorist sandwich. Red eye, travel all night and day. And then I get on the plane. They tried to sell me a sandwich. Oh, where'd you get that sandwich? Where'd you put my sandwich?
Those goddamn hi-hats. This is the track. It's like they keep getting simpler, right? So the elements are this chord, just real quick, the idea with these chords here is to take a melody with the top note, something that is diatonic, something that's, you know, in the scale, in the key of the song, and then to completely recontextualize it with the notes underneath it. Usually I'll start with the root and say, okay, well, with this note on top, like, what chords could it possibly be in? And then I'll, you know, build a chord underneath it. And then I'll try to find some kind of root motion that makes sense. In this case, it's a 2-5-1 in the key of D, and then that slips back up to E flat. But the idea here is basically take a melody that's diatonic, recontextualize them with a root, and then figure out some chords that sound kind of nifty, and it sounds like this. It's a little outside, it's a little weird, but I like it. So this massive patch is super simple. We've just got a low pass on the initialized patch. Sounds like this without. We put the low pass on it, put the RC20 on it. Nothing to it, easy, easy chord. We've got this wiggle sound, which is also massive. This is no oscillators, it's just white noise. We got a low pass with a medium decay on it. And then we've got our phaser with all the knobs up, that's what gives it the wiggle sound. We've got our drums here. Kick is massive. Clap is from the Oliver Power Tools kit. And then this other percussive stuff, it's from my second sample pack with prime loops. I think it's available through Splice now. Put a link to that in the description. And it's just got like tons and tons of Foley stuff in it and cool sound effects. And so it gives you sort of a wide range of sort of Foley percussive sounds and like gears cranking and stuff. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And that, of course, takes us to the bass. This is the bass sound. This bass is great. This is another one from the Korg M1. This is, if you go in the browser, it's slap and thump. This is, of course, the Seinfeld bass, and I layered with a sub underneath. And the sub is this Sub-Zero 808 contact instrument that I've got, which I use sometimes. I really like the Akron 808 one. I kind of use it for most of my subs, actually, even though I've got like Sublab and Massive and Serum. I just like this one. It just sits right with my stuff. And then we've got the vocal. Stupid. So the processing on the vocal, I've got lots of stuff. So first things first, I recorded it in and put Melodyne, Camel Crusher, and EQ rolling off the lows at, what's that, 190 hertz. Camel Crush is British Clean, that's the setting I always use. I've got another EQ on it for no good reason, I guess. This is just I import this track every time I do a vocal. I just import it. It always sounds great. So it's got an EQ. It's got a little bit of compression on it. Oh, even though actually I ran the Waves vocal writer on the whole vocal first to kind of even out the level a little bit without compressing it. I've got Alloy 2 on it with tape saturated vocal setting. I have another EQ. Oh, I have another EQ to cut off some of the highs because I like that like filtered sound. You kind of can't even hear it. And a little bump here just for presence. And then I've cut it very, very high. I feel like when I cut the vocals higher, it helps them cut through in the mix. I don't know. I like the sound of it. You know, I spent a lot of time learning production, and my considered opinion is, who cares? If it sounds good, it is good. I've got, for some reason, another Camel Crusher. I've got OTT at 21%, and I've got a noise gate just because My breath was really loud in the SM58, and because there was a lot of like breath getting into the mic because I didn't use my this guy. You've seen this guy in some of my videos, the Pop Shield, the Chaotica Eyeball, this guy. Anyway, I didn't use that, so there was lots and lots of breath in the recorded audio, so you can see like I've just cut it. Like every time a word ends, like look how tight I've cut it to the end of the word here. Just so no breath comes through. Like here, listen. So much breath. So I just cut it right there. And it just cleaned up the vocal performance a little bit. But in this video, actually, the vocal performance that you see is actually from the takes that I use. I wanted to try to perform the vocal like live. I did Melodyne it to tidy it up because, you know, who cares? I want it to sound good. And that is the track. Now, for me, the thing about this track that makes it not the worst is that, you know, it's got a goofy vocal on it. It's kind of fun. It's engaging, hopefully. And there's like a funk behind it that I think makes it hopefully work. You know, when it kicks into gear here.
Grab my bag and took my sandwich from me. The DSA, they took my sandwich away. They took my sandwich away. Called it a terrorist sandwich.
When I come out of the spoken word part and get into the singing part, the bass kicks in at the same time, and I've laid down a pretty consistent beat. Like you can see, it's just like I just copied it and copied it. The drums the whole way across are just copied. And so I establish, I tell a story. None of it's true. I've never gotten any trouble at the border. I've never been barred from America. I feel like that's important to mention. Anyway, that's the track. If you've got any questions about anything, feel free to drop them below, and I'm not a monster. I'll reply.